you ready? Let's go.
When you're feeling bothered and your spirit's low, your friends have turned their back and there's nowhere to go. Don't shed a tear, 'cause God will give you hope. If you're curious, then turn on. The Late Show with your number one man. Hope will light your heart. The Late Show, watch it 'cause it can. This is the Late Show, starring Matt the
All the way from the land down under, from the heart of Melbourne, the most livable city in the world, the land of the kangaroos and koalas. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome the one and only Matt the Man Unite.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of The Late Show. I'm Matthew Unit. It's great to have your company again tonight. So you've missed me, eh? Well, I don't blame you. God knows, sometimes I even miss myself. So, I know this guy, and as soon as he turned 14 and 9 months, which is the legal age to start working here in Australia, he got a job at Hungry Jack's, and he was getting paid $4.63 an hour. That's right, only $4.63 an hour. And he got a pay rise to $5. And he went around school telling all of his mates that he'd got a pay rise, he got a pay rise. And they all laughed at him, but to him it taught him a pretty big lesson. You see, it taught him that no matter what others thought of him, if he put his mind to something and tried his best, with God's grace, he could achieve it and be successful. Often in life, what one person perceives as being successful might be different to what others around them perceive as being successful. And this was a typical example, where what all of his friends and society perceived as being successful was different to what he perceived as being successful. Tonight, we're lucky to be joined by a gentleman who specialises in helping people achieve success in their careers. I speak of the one and only Sharif Yusuf. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please make him feel welcome?
Thanks again for joining us tonight, Sharif.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
No, pleasure's all ours, mate. But seriously, what's the trick? I mean, everyone's asking. Your arms get bigger every time we see you. So, seriously, you're making me look bad. What protein shakes are you taking?
This is the one thing I don't do. I don't take any protein shakes or anything like that. But tell you what, when I grow up, I want to be just like you.
Thanks, mate. I want to be just like you. So, no, but seriously, Sharif, to start off tonight, I wanted to ask you, I mean, young people often feel like they have a lot of pressure to live up to. Expectations from family, friends, their peers. Where do you draw the line, and do you think any of that pressure is justified? If so, how do you know what the right career path is?
Well, it's an interesting question that you ask. Certainly, the one thing I would say on that question is pressure is always something that I apply from within. So if people are feeling enormously pressured, it's because there's an expectation of themselves, rather than, it's my parents' expectations or the community's expectations. So the one thing I'd ask is, what do you want for yourself, and why are you feeling so much pressure to achieve? And then to follow on from that, what is it you want to achieve? So in terms of career path, I believe success is a journey, and it starts from day one. It doesn't start at day zero.
It's interesting you say that, a journey, and it starts at day one, but not at day zero. Well, can you care to elaborate?
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that I've noticed is that some people will start a career and they want that next level immediately, and it really does frustrate people when they don't get that next level straight away. My advice in that sort of scenario is to really take each day as it comes and to be the very best person that you can be in the role that you've got. Now, that doesn't matter if you are, cleaning a gym at night, or if you are, a high-flying executive who's got multinational clients. It doesn't matter. You do whatever you do with passion, and success will come from that. The promotions will come from that. But the very first step is enjoy what you do it with passion, with a level of integrity that we as Christians aspire to have.
Yeah, because if you're passionate about what you do and you enjoy it, then you'll do well in it.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about. If you drive that passion, just like our commitment to church. When we're committed to church, we spiritually grow. It's the same thing in our career. if we operate with a great level of integrity, with a great level of passion in what we do, we will grow in our career as well.
Beautiful. Having said that, sometimes people get to a stalemate or a speed bump in the road, and sometimes I go to work and it feels very mundane. And it feels like you're going to work day in, day out, but you're not really enjoying it. No one really likes change. So how do you go about, or how should someone go about initiating that change, and with regards to, I suppose, career paths?
It's a really good question. The first thing is, although you might feel that what you're doing day to day is mundane, what it is actually doing to you is setting you up for success in the future. So rather than looking at it as the same old remedial task, I've got to go in again, I've got to do this again, it's boring, it's not getting me anywhere. What it's doing to you on a day-to-day basis is it's teaching you discipline. There's a lot of discipline that goes with being able to do your job to the best of your ability day to day.
Even though you're not enjoying it?
Even though you may not be enjoying it. There are parts to every job, and I don't care what you say, there are parts to every job and every career that people don't like doing. And you can't avoid it. If you run your own business, there are parts to your business that you will not like doing.
Yeah.
So you can't just step away from it. You can't walk away. You've got to have the discipline to be able to get it done well, and then go on to the bits that you really do enjoy.
And take the good with the bad, I suppose.
Absolutely. And rather than looking at the whole thing as a punishing sort of experience, look at it as a way to grow, a way to teach myself discipline. You know, when someone wants to run a marathon, they don't start by saying, right, you know, the first 20 kilometres, I'm just going to skip those and do the last 20. You know, you've got to go through every step of the way.
Yeah, because I've never run it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, interesting. We hear the phrase, behind every great man is a great woman. Can men blame a lack of success on their partner and vice versa?
Okay, well, you know, I have to say that behind every great man is an even greater woman, is, I believe, the quote. So with that in mind, I think your relationship is very important to what you want to achieve as a couple. And it's not just about one person succeeding, it's about the couple succeeding. So you make agreements, you make sacrifices together, and whether it's sacrifices of time or sacrifices of finances or sacrifices of effort or whatever it might be, you really have to work together. You do. And if your partner doesn't support what you're doing, whether it be your husband or your wife, then it's time to sit down and talk about why.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, your relationship with your partner is more important than a career.
Yeah, and communication's vital.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You touched on something earlier about being happy with what you've got and not jumping the gun, I suppose, from a career aspect. Understanding that it's obviously, you got to buy your time, I suppose. In the sense, we can't sort of jump and hope that we're going to reach the limit, the sky, today or yesterday.
Yeah, look, I think
people starting off in their careers. One of my mates recently was asking me, he said, he's aiming to be like a CEO. And I said, well, why don't you just be content with what you've got at the moment, and eventually that will all fall into place. But give it time and be patient. What are your thoughts?
I couldn't agree more. I think your friend's aspirations of being a CEO are highly commendable, and there is absolutely no reason why they wouldn't be able to achieve that.
Yeah.
And I think that within our community, within the people that I've seen, they're so capable, they're so full of amazing skills and capabilities that every single one of them applying themselves in a career could reach any dizzy heights of CEO and beyond. The one thing that I was told early on in my career is it's great to have aspirational goals, but it's even more important not to be impatient about it. It's the time frames that will frustrate.
Yeah.
So if you don't get a promotion within 18 months of being in your job, all of a sudden you start to think, what's going on? You know, this place is rubbish. I'm sick of being here. You know, I work my guts out. That manager of mine, he's not doing half the hours that I'm doing. This is ridiculous. And before you know it, you become very much against the role that you've got, and you become very much against the management in the organisation. And before you know it, you're in this downward spiral of negativity that is not going to lead you to a promotion.
Yeah.
The one thing you can do is just be patient.
Yeah.
And like I say, do the job that you've got to the absolute best of your ability, because when that reflects, when it's time to do reviews, that's when you'll be recognised. And that's when, you know, your manager will turn around and say, oh, you know, that employee I've got, they're a gun. Nothing's too hard. Nothing's too difficult. Anytime I go to them and say, we've got this major project with a short deadline, can we get it? Their answer is yes. That's how they know that you are driven to succeed.
Yeah.
They don't know about your timeframes, and they know timeframes can frustrate. So forget the timeframes. Work to be passionate about your job. Work to be passionate with everything that you do, and the success will come from that.
Yeah. And that was what I tried to tell him too, so thanks.
Mate, right on.
It's great. Great that I'm learning from the best. So, but finally, Sharif, what advice have you got for people watching us tonight who are about to embark on their careers or their next phase in their careers, maybe Year 12 grads or people out there who want to change career paths and are just unsure about path to take?
That's a tough question. Okay, first things first. If you've just completed Year 12, congratulations. This is not the end of the road. The course that you're doing at the moment is not the beginning of the road. Quite often people will start a course at university or may not start a course at university, and that's okay, because what you start off doing, you certainly don't end up doing. Yeah. One thing to believe in is that God has a plan for you. No matter how hard you try to go into a different direction, God will steer you back into the direction that He wants you to go. So don't get nervous, don't get scared, don't get worried. Whatever comes your way will be from God. Yeah. If you lose your job, that's not the end of it. Quite often, some of the difficult circumstances that we go through in our careers, I know some very, very successful people who started off their own organisations, their own companies, and it was on the back of being sacked from jobs, you know, being made redundant from work. And we're experiencing that now. There's a lot of financial pressure on companies to perform, and some companies have had to let a lot of people go. And some of those people have gone off to start their own businesses, and those businesses have turned into multi-million-dollar enterprises. So don't worry about tomorrow. Worry about what you can do today. Worry about how good you can be at your job today, how well you can study today, because all the skills that you build up over time will lead to success. Yeah.
It's interesting that you said God has a plan for you, because I remember someone once told me that we sometimes want to go from A to B, but God goes A to C to F to G, and then does a couple of roundabouts around W, X, Y, and Z, and then comes back to B. And then you look back in hindsight and you go, wow, I don't understand why you did all that, but it was for my good. And at the time you don't see it, because you think, why am I going through all these difficulties? Why am I going through all these trials or something? All I wanted was that promotion, and I didn't get it, and I don't understand, but God has a plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't matter if you've got different ideas. Those ideas you can try, but God may not make them fruitful. So listen to God, you know, always trust in what God has for you. And being a true Christian means that you will be authentic in what you do. That means that you will, if you have a job, doesn't mean you're slacking off on Facebook in the office. It means that you're doing the job to the best of your ability. If you're in a job, it doesn't mean, you know, as a Christian, you don't go about lying to people or backstabbing people in the office. Don't get involved in the politics. So being a Christian in a work environment sets you up for success, and it sets you up to live those values that we hold true to being Christian. So we've kind of got a bit of an advantage there, and that will lead to true success.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for your time tonight, Sharif. It's been a pleasure chatting to you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Melbourne Madness with Mina's Moments. Now, I'm here with the ever humble Joseph Amin. Now, Joseph, we're just going to ask you a few questions today. How are you going?
I'm pretty good, mate. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now, Joseph, how do you define success?
Just long story short, man. Just look at me. Take a look at me, right quick. What do you see that? What you see right in front of you? You see success. I'm success. I define success. I'm success right in front of you. You don't even have to look far. Just you're interviewing success right now.
Yep. Well, that's great. So how did you become so successful, Joseph?
Despite the suit, the mug, the glasses, and the hair, you know, and all that, I had to work very, very hard. I had to work very, very hard. I found very bad challenges. I went through all of them. I did defeat all of them, but I had some financial help.
Yep. So you mentioned some challenges. I imagine this would have been a tough time for you, and a lot of hard work to be where you are now. What did you have to do to become so successful?
I simply had to be just born, you know.
Born.
Yeah.
So for the less fortunate CYC viewers who were not born, can you please explain how that helped you?
Sure. Once upon a time, I was at home. My dad was like, "Hey son, you want to be successful?" I'm like, "Yes," and he gave me some money, and that's how I started.
Well, that's just great. Now, is there anything else you'd like to add, Joseph?
Yeah. Just talk to me about it. Do you guys need any financial help here? All right?
A budget, Bob, a budget. We'll hook you up with the CFO of the Late Show, who doesn't exist.
I'll take that. All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you guys sure?
Yep, he's good. Carry on.
Did you guys vaccinate him?
He's good. Come on, guys. Let's go. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Late Show. This is Melbourne Madness, and I'm here with sir. Your name?
Baba John.
With Baba. Baba John.
Baba John.
Baba John. How are you today, sir?
Good.
Great. Sir, how do you define success?
Me?
Len.
I am successful, everybody. I am. I promise.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your success, John?
Yes. I can tell you a little bit more. It's okay. I am successful. I really am. I have everything that I need. I am a very, very successful businessman. I have interviews, I have meetings, I have dinners, I have shelters, hotels, I have a crew. What else do you want to know?
Your financial state, Mr. Barber, how's that going for you? You got a nice sum in the bank?
Yes.
And how's your nutrition?
I eat sometimes. Not all the time. But I eat.
I like your hair.
Thank you. I use Pantene.
What shampoo? Pantene.
Yeah. Did I?
Because you're with it?
Yes.
This has been great. All right, viewers, so as we can see, success is clearly not a measure of wealth or looks. It's all about how you feel on the inside, and it's all a perception. And I'd like to thank you all for watching. I'm off now, probably gonna go see a doctor. I think I caught something.
Thanks for that, Mina. Hey guys, so tonight I wanted to introduce you all to the 5 P's: plan, passion, perseverance, patience, and last but not least, prayer. So number 1 is plan your path. Have a goal in place and make sure that that's your final achievement. To get there, put in place short-term goals. Your objective should act as your motivation and your light at the end of the tunnel. Although it may seem impossible to reach, through these smaller goals, you'll get there in time. Passion. Follow your true passion. That is the only way to truly be successful and happy. As the famous Steve Jobs said, your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle. Thirdly, perseverance. Don't think that the road to success is an easy one. It is hard work, but you will reap the rewards in the end. Many people expect immediate results, but success will only come through a process, and to get through it, you must be prepared to put in the effort. Fourth is patience, which is a huge factor, and it will ultimately lead you to success. We usually want to get from A to B like that, but however, God may have a different path planned out for us. God's timing is different to ours, but in hindsight, we realize that He only does it for our well-being. It is good to be ambitious, but it's also vital to stay grounded, be realistic and content. Thank God and do not be too greedy. Things always have a way of working themselves out. Fifth and final is prayer. Rather than praying for success, pray for God to grant you wisdom and strength to attain it. Without God's assistance, one will find it extremely daunting and difficult to achieve their goals. Do all that you do with integrity and ensure that your Christian values and conduct shines through. Respect and trust from others will be earned if you always uphold your own values and never compromise them regardless of the situation. So there's my 5 Ps. Please keep them in mind. Now back to you, Matt.
So, as we wrap up another episode of The Late Show, it's important to remember that we shouldn't need to compare ourselves to others. There's this beautiful story that Father Habib Girgis and Father Bullis George both heard from Amber Ruiz, and it's about a gentleman who was walking on the road complaining to his friend that God didn't give him anything, and he was less fortunate than other people around him. As he was complaining and saying how miserable his life was and that he didn't have anything, someone drove past in a Mercedes, and the window was opened a bit, so he heard this gentleman complaining and saying how miserable his life was. And he said, "See, I don't even have a Merc like this guy. Why am I always the one who misses out on all the good stuff?" So the driver of the Merc pulled over and asked him to come closer to him. Then he said to him, "Do you want this Merc? Open the door." So he opened the door, and then the driver continued, "I'll swap you for your legs." You see, the driver was a quadriplegic in a wheelchair, and the Merc was specifically designed. It was custom made for his unfortunate circumstances. The gentleman then walked away, thanking God, and learnt to be content. Sometimes if we look at others around us, we might perceive them to be more successful than us, but we don't know what cross they have to bear. We don't know what cross they have to carry in their lives, and we might not be able to endure it if we did. St. James teaches us in James 4:8, he says, "Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you." God has a plan for everyone, and by getting closer to him, we will see where we should be, or rather, we'll see where we shouldn't be. I also highly recommend the prayer for God's guidance before making decisions, which is at the back of the Agbeya, the Coptic Orthodox prayer book. It's only a short prayer, but it's very effective. So, we hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Please feel free to give us some feedback. On behalf of the whole team, take care, God bless, and have a great night.
Are you ready? Let's go.
Miller's Part, Success episode, take 1.
Guys, are you kidding? I thought we said someone successful.
It's good, Mina. Carry on.
Are you sure?
Yes, carry on, please.
Alright, do I do it separately or start again?
For his own circumstances, for his unfortunate circumstances. The gentleman then walked away.
Oh, yeah.
Go.